Hey everybody, welcome back to Sound the Alarm End Time Ministries. I'm Christopher Gallagher, and today's date is April 7th, 2024. I'm going to make a quick video talking about this eclipse that's going on tomorrow. It's not going to be real long. I just want to touch base with you guys and tell you what I think is going on and what could go on. I'm going to share my opinion on this, because there's no shortage of opinions out there on what's going on with this thing, from mainstream media to YouTube people and prophecy buffs and people that have intel. And we've heard that before, but there's a lot of opinion and a lot of chatter about this thing, and I do think God is saying something with it, but I want to be very careful in what I present to you guys here today. I don't want to fearmonger. I don't want to say something that God has not told me. So what does the Bible say about these particular things? What does the Bible say about eclipses and things of that nature? We can look in the Old Testament, guys, and go all the way back to Genesis with this thing, Genesis chapter 1, and we see when God was creating all things that we see in front of us, everything in creation in 6 days. And in chapter 1, and on day 4, he created the sun, the greater light, and the moon, the lesser light, and the stars. And what did he create them for? Signs. That's the first thing he says. Signs, and for seasons, and for days, and for years. I think it's interesting, though, that people don't have a problem with the seasons, days, and years. But when you say signs, they get all you guys are just, it doesn't mean anything. They're just, natural events, and it's not, well, it does say for signs, and it's the first thing that it says. So I think that's very interesting. So also in the Old Testament, guys, eclipses, or the darkening of the sun, were interpreted as signs of divine judgment, but also a day of salvation, which I think is interesting. When Christ died on the cross, guys, when he was crucified, the darkening of the sun symbolized both judgment and salvation. So I can see how God would use events of judgment to bring people to salvation, because it might be the only thing that wakes them up. So I put the two together, but I don't see, and I don't misinterpret what I'm saying as Chris thinks there's a big revival coming, because I don't believe there's a big revival coming. That's not to sound negative. We just don't find it in prophecy. Before Jesus comes back, things get worse, as I've mentioned before in my other videos. They don't get better. The church falls away. There's a great falling away, guys, before it. And it doesn't have to include you. I don't want it to include me. But there's a great falling away. The love of many will wax cold. Evil men will get worse and worse. Iniquity will abound. All of those things. And then leading up to, we can talk about Matthew 24, Luke 21, Mark 13, Revelation. All those things, the things around our world, including natural disasters, including signs in the heavens, all those things are going to become more frequent. They're going to get closer together. Things are going to get worse, is basically what I'm saying there. So now eclipses, they're so incredibly rare, and it's got to mean something. Well, let's step back here a little bit. An eclipse, guys, actually they're not very unique events. According to space.com, approximately once every 18 months, a total solar eclipse is visible from someplace on the Earth's surface. So I understand, it's kind of hard to always make a connection with judgment and things of that nature with an eclipse. But a lot of times, here's how I look at that: is what we're seeing now with these eclipses, and the last three in particular, 2017, 2023. And this one that's tomorrow. I definitely see a connection with judgment coming soon, is the way I see it. So let me just share my thoughts on what I think is going on with this thing. I get why people would say, because eclipses happened before, judgment didn't come, but I also see God giving a lot of fair warning before judgment does come. He is patient and long-suffering, and not willing that any should perish. So, but when time's up, time is up. And I think that time is up soon. Times of the Gentiles fulfilled. and God goes back to primarily dealing with the Jews for the 7-year tribulation period. That's Daniel's 70th week. That's the time of Jewish. He turns his attention back to the Jews. So when I read passages like Matthew 24, Luke 21, Isaiah 13, and others, we see the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. And during a solar eclipse, the sun is significantly darkened and the light normally reflected by the moon is gone. So again, there does seem to be a connection there. And I know some people want to dismiss that and say there is no connection at all. According to those passages, they are interconnected somehow with judgment coming. And specifically the worst judgment the world has ever seen or ever will see again, the 7-year tribulation period. There does seem to be a connection there with that. So what have I heard? We hear all kinds of things that are going on. I've heard all kinds of things from EMPs going off and the grid going down, and then after the grid goes down, there's an attack on our soil. I heard a video today that there was a possible bioweapon that could be deployed on or shortly after the eclipse. I've heard National Guards being deployed at certain places. I've heard the government to tell us to stock up on food and water and medical supplies. I've heard police departments all over the United States are on high alert for a terrorist attack of some sort. I've heard that too. Bottom line is, guys, there's a lot of hype over this thing, and there wasn't in 23, and there wasn't in 27. A lot of sensationalizing too. Sure, yeah, I get it. Maybe even some, fear mongering going on. Yeah, all right, yeah. But it just wasn't like the other two. Now I say that because and I got to be honest with you, God has not told me anything specific. So do I think something's going to happen tomorrow? Do I know something's going to happen tomorrow? No. I don't know that something's going to happen tomorrow. But it might. I don't know. Best thing is just be prepared anyway. Certainly not going to hurt to do that, right? Something ain't right, though. And I don't know what it is. I can only say something isn't right. And I do think something really big is going to go down very soon, either maybe tomorrow or shortly thereafter. I don't know, but I've been saying that for a while. So leading up to this video here today, let's say this eclipse wasn't even happening tomorrow. I'm still getting on here, and I'm telling you, something big is going to go down very soon. And I've talked about it before, and its connection, the election year, it's coming up again. And do we really think we're just going to skate on into 25? You're relatively unscathed and things are normal? Not happening. But I can't pinpoint exactly what that is. What I can tell you is what the dreams that the Lord has shared with me, these dreams of judgment, and these things, they are going to happen at some point, attacks on our soil specifically. So let me show you a picture. A lot of you guys have probably already seen this, but here's a picture of the map that's drawn for what the last two paths and the one path that's tomorrow for the eclipse going across the United States. Some people will leave one of them out. This one over here, so it's a big X, and God's Xing out the United States, and I think, well, judgment's coming, you know what I mean, but they leave the one out, and I just find that interesting. So let me read something to you. This is from eclipsewitness.com. The 3 letters there, or the 3 pathways there, and what that forms: the American ELF and TAVs 2017, 23, and 2024. Just let me read what they say. It's interesting, if nothing else. So, an original map by Sand depicting the American ELF and a hieroglyphic pattern formed by mapping the 3 complete solar eclipse paths of 17, 23, and 24. There's never been such a tightly formed, obvious ELF over the interior borders of any nation in at least the last 1,000 years. A Tav is a cross, the last letter of both the ancient Hebrew and Egyptian alphabets. The Aleph is an A, the source of our modern letter. They are the first and last letters, the alpha and the omega, essentially. The April 8th, 24 eclipse creates all three letters within minutes by crossing the lines created by the first two eclipses from south to north. So, does this mean anything? You know, is it God putting his signature on stuff? Is God Xing the United States out? You know, guys, I don't know. I'm not going to tell you something that I don't know, you know. But I don't believe in coincidences either. So you got people on the other side saying, if you say anything about an eclipse that has anything to do with judgment, you're just a conspiracy nut and you're all these other things. Listen, you think whatever you want to think. I don't believe in coincidences. I don't. This path of this one eclipse that's coming up now is going through 7 cities called Nineveh. The last one, it went through 7 cities called Egypt. There's a section in there where it crosses Rapture, Indiana. You know, do these things mean anything? I just don't think they're coincidences. I just can't tell you exactly, you know, what's going on with it. Other than I can tell you this. The government is corrupt, and it's both sides, and they're up to something, and I don't know what it is. Our country, guys, is being systematically taken apart. So we are going to lose our sovereignty. There can be no one world government with the United States standing strong in its sovereignty, opposing all of this stuff going on. Globalists have taken over. Globalists are running our country. And again, you know my thoughts on Donald Trump. Don't believe him. He's a deceiver, guys. I'm telling you. I know that's not popular. I know it ain't. I know people don't want to hear that. They want to hear that Donald Trump's our savior. He's going to come in and he's going to save the day. I don't know what else to tell you than what the Lord told me was this guy is two-faced. So he may get on here, he may get on TV and then tell people he's a nationalist and he's not a globalist at all. And he's going to crush the cabal and he's going to crush the globalists and their one world thinking and their plan to do all that. And he's not going to do any such thing. Time's the only thing that's going to tell you that. But right now he's running for president of our nation, so he's got to stand on what he's got to stand on. So, guys, I can't tell you enough to just be ready. Be ready for what's coming. And the tribulation is fast approaching. We're on a crash course with it. The rapture is soon. I don't know when. We need to be ready. And something could happen tomorrow, but something may not. Something could happen shortly thereafter. No. Oh, let me tell you the dream that I had too. That's right. I wanted to get that into it. I did have another dream. This one was similar to some of the other ones I've had before. Red Dawn type dreams. I've had like 6 of those, and a bunch of different drone attack dreams too. This particular one was similar to the Red Dawn stuff, and I got up and I just had a very uneasy feeling. And I knew something. I knew we were about to be attacked on our soil. And I looked outside, and planes that were flying super low. I mean, like really low to the ground planes, but they were everywhere. And they're just hosing us down. Machine gun, they're just bullets, just wiping people out. There was an attack on our soil by planes in the sky that, like the Red Dawn type of thing going on. And then I shut the door, and I knew what was going on. But then when I opened it up again, I looked up into the sky again, and I saw these very strange shaped ships. It's hard for me to explain. So we had the planes that were down really low, firing at us, but there was these huge, very oddly shaped ships that are up in the sky that were higher. Don't know what it meant. And what that means, or just, is that part of Project Bluebeam? Was my first thought. Was there, was there something going on with that? Don't know. Be ready. Just be ready, guys. You can take and do what you want with this video. Again, pray about it and pray, for direction, for what God wants us to do in these last days with what little time we do have left. I do want to read a little bit in Luke 21. Just hear me out here with this passage, and I'll close the video out. Then he said unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Yes, we've seen that before, but we're not like we're seeing it today. And great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilences and fearful signs and sights and great signs shall there be from heaven. I think this eclipse is one of those signs, but I think there's a whole lot more coming. It's to me, it's like a warning shot that it is judgment's about to hit. This particular one, at least, what we've seen over the last three. Just my thoughts. But before these things, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into the prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall turn to you for a testimony. Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what ye shall answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. And you shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinsfolks and friends, and some of you shall they cause to be put to death. We're seeing a lot of that today too. And you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but there shall not a hair of your head perish. And your patience possess your souls, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is near. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them which are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance. Those are the words of Jesus Christ. These be the days of vengeance. Well, why won't God do anything about the wicked people in the world? These be the days of vengeance. It's coming. It's coming. God is just incredibly patient. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land. And I believe that great distress in the land is about to gear up. And wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And that's almost done. The times of the Gentiles are right now, but I believe we're at the end of that. And there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when you see these things begin to come to pass, then look up, lift up your heads, for your redemption draws nigh. So there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot going on, and this is not an in-depth study of Luke 21. As I mentioned before, there is a difference between Matthew 24 and Luke 21. The Jewish context of Matthew 24 cannot be ignored. Luke writing here, there's the attention's drawn away from that a little bit. It's in there, but there's certain things that are said here that aren't said in Matthew, and it's for a different group of people. When you see these things begin to come to pass, look up, your redemption draws nigh. There's a group of people redeemed off the earth when these things begin to come to pass, and that's the church, because our redemption is drawing nigh. So, but fearful sights and things and wars and commotions and things going on, nation rising up against nation, earthquakes going on. There was another earthquake in Jersey, New York City area. My brother even went through that. He lives down in Jersey, so he said it was a pretty scary thing. But there's more of those things to come. And they're going to get worse, guys. They're going to get worse. Somebody had actually also said that and again, this is the intel that people get, that they're saying another massive earthquake that will take place tomorrow. How do you know that through intel? I didn't quite get that part of it. Unless, is the government up to something? They can cause earthquakes. Is that what they're doing? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe it won't. Guys, we got to be careful who we're listening to. The mainstream media can't be trusted. Don't listen to what else do we have? We got people on YouTube and Rumble and whatever. People are trying to put the word out and what's going on, but there's just so many deceivers and so much deception out there. It's hard to keep track of. So anyway, guys, that's just my thoughts on this. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow with this eclipse. I don't know. Maybe nothing at all. So But what I do think is it's quite possible that something does. I think some of these dreams that I've had in the past about attacks on our soil are going to come to pass soon, even before the rapture, to wake people up. And we need to get the gospel out. We need to tell people. We need to not be afraid either. Don't be afraid of this thing. Don't be afraid of what we see coming. The Lord tells us to not be afraid. Don't fear these things. Fear not. If we're in Jesus Christ, we don't have to fear it. So be in prayer and be safe. And again, share the gospel with as many as you can. And we'll see what comes to pass. Until then, guys, let's keep looking up, because our redemption is so very near. We're going home soon, guys. And I just want as many as possible to be on board with Jesus and salvation now. And if not, may they come to know Jesus during the tribulation time. So anyway, God bless all of you.